that, we got a York package unit. The issue, as it always seems to be, it's an economizer problem. This guy has no power. Everything seems to be plugged in, but it's not lit up. I traced back the stat wire to make sure that it is wired up. I saw that hanging out and thought that was a problem, but that's not it. So found the install manual, and from what I can tell, 24 volts, I don't think it's plugged in. It should be tied in with the stat wires, common and red, gray and brown. Both of those don't seem to be plugged in, so we're going to plug those in and see what happens. Okay, so we have brown going to common and gray going to red. This is our brown coming from that board, and gray also coming from that board. So turn it on, see if it fires up. And just turned on. No popped fuse, so far so good. Bam. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got power now. Alright, we're gonna set this thing up. Easy fix. Alright, so the economizer damper isn't opening. There's no fault light. So let's see what kind of damper command we have, if anything. Plugged in, going that way. Let's see if I can find those around. Part of what I'm seeing is some of the wiring is wrong. It says for a heat pump that the yellow wire coming from the harness from the Econ controller should be tied into yellow at the stat. I confirmed the OB for the reversing valve is orange, and that all seems to be connected correctly. But then it says from the economizer controller we have white, which gets landed on yellow for the York unit. So we're gonna try that. Let's see. Big one is coming from the economizer controller. This one seems to be coming from the unit. these stay together. Right from the stat, does not get connected to anything. So we have, this is our stat wire. It's going to be this little one. White coming from unit, also doesn't get used. So this is white coming from the controller, the big wire. And you're saying that needs to be plugged into yellow, going to the unit. Cooling might kick on right now, let's see. Okay, good. Thought I saw that it wasn't cooling. Grab this guy. Okay. So at least that's fixed. Reversing valve is connected correctly. W's been abandoned. Everything else. What we ended up doing to fix that little issue. Not sure how much that's going to fix right now, but white wire is going to the Economizer controller, the thick one. This yellow is going back to the York unit. Both whites were abandoned because it says to do so. York unit's not using white. Thermostat is not using white. Yellow to yellow, stat to the Econ controller, yellow to white controller. That's what we did. So at least now that part's set up right. Go in here, try to, let's make sure voltages and stuff are okay. Going to the Economizer controller real quick. I'm just gonna set the minimum. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to see. Equipment type, heat pump, thermostat type. Oh. Okay. Damper minimum position. Let's just crank this guy up to make sure it opens. It's easy to tell that it's open. We'll go 40%. 40. It says it's 2 to 10, so a 40% signal. W1 occupied. Ooh. Occupancy black. I wonder if that's being connected at all. That's probably why it's not working. Alright, so I've had this issue before with a different style economizer. We're going to try this, see if it happens, but there's an occupancy wire. They're calling it green, which is supposed to tie into the fan, which makes a whole lot of sense. Whenever the fan's on, it should show occupied. So I have the damper set to 40%. We just saw that, and it's obviously not open 40%. Everything has power, there's no faults. And if I disconnect the signal going out to the damper, which is right here, I should see it's a 2 to 10, so 40% would be 5.2 volts, or 40%, let's see, 40 times, yeah, so 3.2 plus 2 is 5.2, so we should have 5.2, and we have 1.9. I don't know if you can see that, but we have 1.9, which means we're not getting a signal at all. So let's go ahead and whoever installed this just didn't do a very good job. This black wire is actually our occupancy wire. It's not green, it's black, doesn't matter. That's the one. So let's go ahead and wire that guy up to green. I don't know what these other two black wires do. Probably nothing, because what the hell is black used for? A thermostat. Okay. Green is fan. Okay. So that should be telling the Economizer that the system's occupied because the fan is running. Let's see what we get on for a signal now. Maybe I could prop this up somehow. Let's see if you can see this. I'll just put it in your face. Let's see. So now we should have, I think, roughly 5.2 here. Oh, 3.9, so that's interesting. We'll see. I wonder if that needs to be reconfigured. But either way, we do have more than 2 volts. So when we plug this in, you should see this damper move. So I'm going to leave the camera here while we plug this bad boy back in. Let's see this sucker move. If this doesn't work, that's gonna suck. But it should pick up that it's occupied. It should move this thing. Bingo! So, gotta fix quite a bit of stuff here, but nothing major. The bulk of my problems that I run into as an air balancer are Economizer related. It's usually wiring or a setup problem of some sort. Because this is not an opposed blade damper, this is whatever the other word would be, not opposed. The damper position usually doesn't need to be very high. It obviously depends on how much air you have, but this is a small commercial space, so it likely doesn't need a ton. But I usually find opposed blade damper positions usually have to be set higher than this type of configuration, because the opposed blade 20%, it might only be 5% open, you know, where this style is open quite a bit more. So we're going to run this thing down to 15%. I actually don't have any design criteria for the system, but I believe it's a 4-ton, so we're going to try to set this thing up for a little more than 1600 CFM. As you can tell, this system doesn't have a filter installed. I don't have anything like that with me, otherwise I'd do it, but we're going to set it high to account for the lack of the filter and future filter loading and stuff like that, so we'll try to set it a little high. But anyways, that's that one. The issues we had today was it was set up as a conventional unit, but this is all because it was never powered on in the first place, but we had to change it to a heat pump. We had to go down to the thermostat and see what wire, what landing was being used for the reversing valve. It was an orange wire that was plugged in correctly, but as we saw, the cooling signal went from the thermostat to the controller, yellow to yellow, and then from the controller sending a cool signal to the unit. From this controller was the white wire to the yellow wire of the unit, so we did that. Things still weren't moving, so I figured it wasn't getting an occupied signal, and sure enough, they had the occupancy wire plugged into the wrong thing. We connected that to the fan, which whenever the fan's running will show the unit is occupied and tell this thing what to do. But anybody who has any balance experience will know this is set to 15% right now, and that's open quite a bit. When you work on systems with opposed blade and you do 15%, the thing's barely cracked open. So this is probably going to be too much. I'll jump on an ASHRAE calculator and see what type of CFM we should set for the outside air based on square footage. We'll go down and get the square footage of this space and try and get it as close as we can. Like I said, this project doesn't have any plans or engineered anything, so we're gonna do our best to get it set right. Alright, thanks for watching. Have a good one.